Hey there, we're live today for our Wise Woman interview series. And this beautiful woman that we have before us was a referral again from Lori Love Jones, who couldn't say enough great things about Marnie and the love that she has for what she is doing right now and what she's been doing for years and years and years before she even had the concern. She's going to go into more detail. And from Lori shared that Marnie is an absolute gift to women and the opportunity that she has been given with her talents, her gifts, her wisdom, and makes life so much greater. And so through her homeopathy, she is able to serve us in an area of menopause for that space in our lives. It can feel very challenging, frustrating, and I believe a lot is coming out right now with more information, and she's had this information for years and serving so many. So today we get to know more about her, how she does what she does, and how you can reach her if you're in this stage of life or know someone who is that could really use some support, encouragement, and resources and tools. So, Marnie, we would absolutely love to know more about you and how you came to this beautiful place to serve women.
Sure. Thank you so much for having me today. It's wonderful to connect with you. And I am amazed by all the people that Lori knows and who she connects me with just around town and now with you as well. So thanks for having me today. And I didn't know how you wanted me to start. Do you just want me to tell you my story or about homeopathy or any preference? Okay.
I would probably say a little bit of both,
Mhm.
more your story and then homeopathy for sure, because I know that's a new term for a lot of people, even the pronunciation
Right.
can be tricky. So yeah, more about you first and then yeah, in more detail, I'm sure that's going to come along.
Okay. That sounds good. So, homeopathy is a holistic system of healing that uses natural remedies to nudge your body back into balance and activate its own healing response. So, you might have seen these little pellets, homeopathic remedies at health food stores. They're little white pellets, usually sold in rows, and people are oftentimes confused about what they are. Many times people think homeopathy is holistic. It is holistic in that it helps address the whole body, but it's not. People oftentimes think it's like home remedies, like apple cider vinegar and honey and stuff. It's not home recipes or home cures or folk medicine or anything. It has its own way of analyzing symptoms and finding the right remedies for people. So there are about 4,000 different remedies available. And it's a homeopath practitioner's job to match a client their symptoms with the right remedy to bring them into balance. So that's what I do. It's 230 years old, so it's not a new thing. It's not something that's brand new. It's been around since the late like 1790s. And it radically changed my life. So my story is that I was working in New York after college and I got really worn out and run down and I developed Epstein-Barr virus. I had chronic mono. And initially, I just thought, okay, I'm run down, I'll get better. But what happened was it went on for 2 years, and I saw a variety of doctors, and I was sleeping 16 hours a day. I could not get better. I was exhausted and just so worn out. And so, luckily, I was living in New York, so there were a lot of alternative and integrative doctors there. So I saw really famous doctors. Actually, they gave me vitamin IVs 2 to 3 times a week. I took lots of supplements. I got rid of my food allergies. I cleaned up like wheat, dairy, gluten, sugar, caffeine, Diet Coke out of my diet. All these different things. They helped a little bit, but not totally. I still could not function and I was exhausted. And so, um, I was just like, I will not give up on this event. I had doctors say, well, it'll be chronic. You may have it for 20 or 30 years. Most of the people who have this chronically, they just go on disability or they never get over it. And I was like, no, that is not going to happen to me. I will research this. I'm going to get better. So I just kept trying different things. And eventually I saw a homeopath practitioner And he asked me about 2 hours worth of questions about my life and my symptoms and how I viewed the world and that sort of thing. And he literally gave me two pellets and I took it and I kind of thought, oh my gosh, I can't believe I just wasted all this money. You know, I'm just going to take these two pellets and that's it. And the follow-up was 6 weeks later, but what happened was 3 weeks later, I was out of bed, energetic, felt great. I started going to Taibo classes at 8 in the morning, and I had my energy back. And what I had been doing was I'd been taking antiviral herbs, which are fine, immune boosting supplements, doing all these natural things, but my body just could not kick this virus, basically. When I took the homeopathic remedy, it reset my body. It made my body so healthy that that virus could not exist there anymore. So what happened was I felt better, and then my other symptoms got better. The anxiety, the depression, the insomnia. I'd had other problems with like migraine headaches, bladder infections. Also, I mean, I had so many different symptoms from just, my gosh, just years of stress. They're all stress related symptoms, basically. So the homeopathy not just helped Epstein-Barr virus, but it also helped me on a mental, emotional level. And all these other physical symptoms got better. And the funny thing was I started really finding my voice. And I started having more boundaries. And I'd say no. I was like, no, I don't want that. I want this. And I would speak my truth. And I had just suppressed myself and made other people happy and quieted myself. Um, because I really didn't have a good, strong sense of confidence or self. And the remedy just woke something up in me. And I actually see that a lot where people will take a remedy and they develop confidence in speaking their truth. So I was fascinated by this. How could these little pellets change me so much emotionally, even though I'd been in years and years of therapy? These remedies made such a profound change just within gosh, a couple weeks and then physically add my life back, right? So I went to homeopathy school. It was a 4 year program, and all the professors were from the UK, so they'd come over because homeopathy is widely used in Europe, but not as much in the US. So we had 3 years of clinical work there. So the schooling plus working in the clinic, and that's how I learned homeopathy. And around, maybe my third or fourth year, I saw Christiane Northrup on PBS, and she had just released this book called The Wisdom of Menopause. And she was talking about how women suppress their feelings, but around menopause, all their truth comes up, right? Like they're irritable or they blow up or they're angry or they're weepy and sad. And she explained this beautiful concept of how our bodies are talking to us our whole lives, right? And she said, anytime you've suppressed something and suppressed your feelings, it's going to come out at a certain point. And if a woman has not expressed her feelings or kind of like just taking care of relationships in her life and spoken her truth, it will get bigger and bigger and bigger. And if then it'll eventually blow up oftentimes at menopause because women don't have the capacity to suppress it anymore. So I liked her example of PMS. She's like, PMS, people say, oh, that's just your hormones. Yes, those are your hormones talking when you're weepy and irritable or fed up or angry or whatever. But that's just a window where everything's kind of coming up to the surface during the menopausal change. And she's like, that's your opportunity to make changes in your life. Things that are bothering you at that point are bothering you the rest of the month, and you need to take care of that. She said, if you don't take care of that, those little hints along the way, it's going to be really big when you hit menopause, whether it's grief or a job where you're not being treated well, or a relation like your husband, relationship with the husband, marriage is not going well, or friendships, people taking advantage of you, like whatever all those feelings are, they'll come up. And she explained how the hormones work for us, and it's the body's way of saying perimenopause, menopause, like, all right, now is your time to deal with these things so they don't make you sick. So I was fascinated because that was very true to my story. Did not go through menopause, obviously, at that age, but I had been very suppressed with my feelings, and I grew up in the South, and I was not familiar with how to express myself or stand up for myself or whatever. So it was just a little inkling. And I thought, my gosh, if I could help these women who are having these terrible hot flashes and palpitations and night sweats and mood swings and insomnia and all these symptoms they have at menopause, which I knew how to address with homeopathic remedies. But if I could help them with homeopathy and help them on an emotional level at this time in their life that's so stressful, I could help a lot of women. And so that's how at, 27, I decided to specialize in menopause. And so that's what I do now. And now I'm of more the menopausal age. And I'm like, wow, this is an interesting time. And I'm seeing all these people around me really having a hard time. And I totally get it, and I'm so glad I've had homeopathy. My clients have homeopathy to help them. So that's more or less how I got into that specialty.
Oh my goodness, the flood of questions that are coming through that was not part of my outline. I have to be careful because I think I could make this all about me. And that's not the time or the place because based on my work with women since I was 19, most of every business I've had has been predominantly women. I do
Mhm.
work with men in coaching, I work with men in events and things like that, yet predominantly women. And it's interesting because I was part of Mary Kay for years, and the age difference there was quite large.
Mhm.
Um, Based on what I was introduced to it in college. So fascinating because I never quite put that thought process through in lack of expression there will exceed when your body is going through another major change. So that is so fascinating and so special that you found it at such a young age. And the support that you're giving gives so much more hope because it's a combination of our balance in our body and our balance in our soul for, that self-expression that sometimes it's silence at the right moment.
Right.
It's the emotional choice, and being able to, so that's so beautiful. Oh my goodness. So yes, I do have questions, but I'm going to go back to the ones we planned for because, um,
Sure. Let
yes.
me let me add one thing because what I thought was so beautiful that Christian Northrup did was she said, "We see menopause as such an awful thing to dread." And she said, "No, this is your time of coming into your power and finding your voice and what resonates with you." And she said, "Let's transform this into making your hormones work for you." Yes, it's annoying, obviously, to have hot flashes and night sweats and all that. She's like, "You can get through that with the right support." But if you don't find your voice and step into what's next in your life, you will not age well, right? And she said, find your voice, express yourself. She said this is times when women will start a new job. They might start a nonprofit or switch careers or start writing or going back to painting or finding their creative expression because they're finding themselves, and they also will get out of really unhealthy relationships, whether it's work or a marriage, because they just will not tolerate it anymore. And she said and that propels them to growth. And obviously some people will work through a relationship and that sort of thing, but if something's been unbearable for 20 years, it's time for them to change. And so she said this is a powerful time in a woman's life. And the beauty of it is the intuition goes so high. So I'm just going to give you a quick lesson. When a woman's cycling her LH, luteinizing hormone, and follicle stimulating hormone, FSH, go up and down every month with ovulation, right? At those peaks, they have higher intuition. That's around the time when you're supposed to be wise to choose a good partner, right? Around that ovulation time, who knows, sometimes it happens, sometimes it doesn't. But she said at menopause, you stop cycling like that and your elevated FSH and LH are all the time. And you can tap into this intuition. And that's where wise women come from. And they have access to that intuition. And their intuition grows and grows and grows. And they have access to it and they can make better decisions and just figure things out more quickly, right? Because they're tapped into that. And it's a natural, innate thing. She's like, this is not something to be feared. This is something powerful. A lot of women say their 50s, late 40s, 50s, and 60s are a very satisfying time of their life, right? Because they're following their dreams and their passions, they're speaking their truth. And she said, this is when you can make a big change and like change the course of your life. So I always like to make it as a positive thing. And so if women are struggling with symptoms like PMS or irritability, like PMS would be more or less like the and perimenopause women will have a lot of irritability because their estrogen's very high or it's going up and down and that sort of thing. And then when the estrogen decreases at menopause, that can cause depression, anger, irritability, anxiety, whatever. But she said if you can manage those feelings and let your hormones work for you, and listen to your voice and what's going on, you can make a lot of strides. And she really warned against suppressing the feelings and suppressing too much with medications, that sort of thing. So that's why I love homeopathy because people can just take a homeopathic remedy to balance these symptoms and find their true voice and keep moving into it. So I just think it's a beautiful combination of menopause for homeopathy.
Oh my goodness gracious, your timing is so beautiful. So, with that, which is not part of my outline, but I do need to ask it because I'm sure any woman that's watching this, whether you're there, you're not there, or you've made these choices, we can make new choices. So, so if you know someone is in menopause, and I know there's a lot of different things that are out there, like creams and patches, and so that's more the medicated side. And what you have is the options to go through, which is what I always think of now that I've learned into this space. There's these remedies that give you greater balance in your system for greater lifetime outcome without the weird side effects, right? Because those medicines and creams and things can, the list is a mile long and then you forget what it's supposed to do. So would you say that that's the option is that, now they're introducing the creams and the things like that you have more of the natural side and you always have, so that it gets the root. Is that what I'm understanding?
Yeah, it gets the root and helps balance the hormones naturally with the homeopathic remedies. And I think every woman should have a choice of what she wants to do, right? If she wants to take hormone replacement therapy, that's great. If she wants bioidentical hormones, that's great too. The other option is homeopathy. So most of my clients come to me, either they don't want to take hormones or bioidentical hormones, or they didn't work. And so they just want to do it naturally. That's fine. I do have a couple clients who do take hormones. So it's just up to whatever someone's preference is. Um, and I mean, I've just seen homeopathy work so beautifully to alleviate the symptoms. I also use what are called plant stem cells. These are herbal tinctures. They will help balance the hormones as well. So most herbs are made from roots and leaves, right? Like an herbal tincture or tea. Those are made from roots and leaves. They're made either into a tea or a tincture that you take as drops or capsules. So I use plant stem cells. These are made from the buds of plants, right? So it's all the embryonic tissue. They're much stronger than a regular herb, right? Because they're the embryonic tissue, not the leaf or the root. So they're more concentrated. And oftentimes my clients will take those to help balance the hormones. They might help the body make more progesterone naturally, more estrogen naturally, more testosterone naturally. But women's cycling, they're adaptogenic. They do what your body needs at that time, and they're sweet tasting also, right? So most herbal tinctures are really nasty tasting. I wouldn't want to take them, but the plants themselves are sweet tasting, and someone who might need 2 to 3 to take maybe twice a day. That will also help balance the hormones. So I use the homeopathy and the plants themselves together because I think they work really nicely. Our environment is so different than it was 200 years ago, right? Like even in my practice with 24 years, I've seen a lot of changes in just women's hormones, even in that short amount of time. But basically, what happens is we have much more estrogen dominance now in the late 30s, early 40s from the water, from meats, from pesticides on plants. So women have much higher estrogen in their late 30s, early 40s than they did traditionally. So then that's high. and then they hit menopause and then it's really low, right? They stop making estrogen. Whereas I think it used to be more like the estrogen would just slowly kind of decrease. It was okay, there's less estrogen, but it was not as a dramatic decrease. So I find that the plant stem cells, along with the homeopathy, really helps women balance things. So I love to start working with women in their early 40s so that by the time they get to menopause, it's seamless, it's easy, they have few symptoms, their hormones are balanced, and they don't really need to do anything else. They just, kind of just sail through it.
Well, and I think that's such a good point about prevention because that's what I've learned so much about because we've gone to a homeopathic doctor for we waited years to get into her and finally got to her and learning some of those factors that it was told to her originally certain things with hormones were just avoided altogether and thinking, oh, well, this might cause cancer, where it's the opposite effect that when we put our bodies in such stress, like
Mhm.
then, like you said, instead of a little line, and it's like the extreme, and especially if we're going through any changes in our lives with parents and elder, you know what I mean, like care and caring for our parents, caring for our kids, that time frame, depending on our ages, can really be impactful. So you are such a gift. And I love that you found it when you found it for the way that you found it, because that meant so much because you tried all these other things, which is such a great example to women in menopause because there are things out there. And yet, knowing that there's alternatives, there's choices,
Right.
and there's things that are going to be safer. I can say that. I know, at least from what I'm learning, especially for like you were showing me what we've learned about for our son for sprains and
Mm.
different things that can be really impactful. And they do so much more than we would ever know or realize than these little tiny pellets. It's so exciting. And I've seen the wall at the our local health store, and it's like such great hope. I can't say I knew that there were 4,000 of them. Oh, that's a lot. That's why we need you to organize them.
There are a lot, yeah, there are lots of remedies. And that's where it takes the skill of the training to find the right remedy for each person. You can choose homeopathic remedies for acute, right? You twist your ankle, you could take some arnica. There's certain things like an ear infection, right? You could go to the health food store and pick out a remedy. But for chronic conditions, that's where you need a professional homeopath to find what we call a constitutional remedy that addresses everything.
Okay, I need to write that. A constitutional remedy.
Constitutional homeopathic remedy, right? So you have acute remedies, short-term symptoms, and then chronic symptoms. Like I was going to share a case today of someone who had sinus headaches and frequent colds and flus and bladder infections and menstrual problems. Those are chronic symptoms. She'd had them for several years. That's where we'd find a constitutional remedy that's going to cover all her symptoms, right? So I like to say the example I like to give often is, let's say somebody has panic attacks, migraines, fibroids, and frequent bladder infections. And let's say even dreams of being chased, right? Nightmares. So a homeopath will choose one homeopathic remedy to address all of those symptoms. Okay. You wouldn't take, like, let's say you see a naturopath or an integrative doctor, they might give you feverfew for the migraines, some uva ursi for bladder infections, and some cranberry, and then some osha root tea for the sinuses, right? GABA for the anxiety, right? They might give you a supplement for each one. That's fine, it's natural. But with homeopathy, if you get a good constitutional homeopathic remedy, that one remedy made from one substance will reset the entire body and help all the different symptoms. I know. It's very elegant, right? Because you
It
really
is.
only need it. That's the other cool thing is you only need two pellets about once a month. You're not taking supplements every single day. You just take two pellets once a month that resets your body. That sort of thing brings all the symptoms, ideally brings all the symptoms into balance.
Okay, so here's my question. Do you service people who can't be in your office?
Oh yeah, you know what? I've worked long distance for almost my entire career since I started my business. It was all phone for many. I mean, it's like half phone, half in person. And then we had Skype and now Zoom. So I'm going to say 50% of my clients are long distance. I
Okay,
had
thank
one
God.
client who lived off the coast, like off the coast of Russia near Japan, right? And so just get her remedy. I had another one in Saudi Arabia. And we would just find a way. It's easier if someone lives locally because then the shipping, finding the pharmacy and shipping the remedies is easier. But yes, can work long distance. Absolutely.
I feel like you're a godsend to a lot of women, a lot of people, I'm sure, just in general, but women, what a gift
Oh,
to
yeah.
know that
Thank you.
and to hear the difference of the constitutional option,
Mhm.
because I think I've just only known about the acute, and yet I can think of a number of women right now with the chronic. You know what I mean? They're like, I just don't know. I get this all the time. And I always think to myself, especially in the work that I've been doing,
Right.
there's some patterns here that something's not
Yes.
fixed. And the inflammation, digestion, and all those different complications of like what you were saying, it's affecting other areas and
Mhm.
nothing's going to change unless you get to the root. So I love what you're doing. Oh my goodness. So I do have a few questions because, like I said, I could ask you personally, but I will contact you for my own appointment.
Absolutely. Do it. I love to chat more, of course.
Yes. Okay. So, what has been the most important lesson that you've learned on your journey to success, both in life and business, that you wish more women knew outside of knowing that there's this here for them? Because this whole foundation is in of itself. But would there be something outside of that that stands out?
I think intuition, right? Listening to your body, listening to your voice. Because I felt like I had to make rational decisions for so long. But just listening to my voice and also recognizing hearing God's voice, God speaking into my life. I used to look outside myself for validation or look for other things to help me or other people's voices or opinions. And then I realized, no, the real wisdom is just slowing down, hearing God's voice, my voice, my intuition, being quiet, listening. And then after that, the more I pay attention to it, the more confident I feel, the more aligned I feel. And then I can plug in, like, okay, that's my decision. That's what I'm going to do. Or I need to do this or say this or that sort of thing. Just listening to my own guidance, right? Our bodies are always talking.
Oh, I love that. I teach it's the theory, the outline of raising the bar, and it starts with belief. Starts right there. It's so important.
Yes, yes.
So beautiful and so simple. You know, so many times I think as women, we make things a little more complicated than they need to be, and we can start there. So that's profound and so great. How do you maintain focus and clarity on your vision, especially when you're faced with challenges, self-doubt, as we all are?
Mm-hmm. What I like to do is spend some quiet time and just pause, reflect, like, why do I do this work, right? Like, why am I facing it when I'm facing challenges, when I'm thinking through things, or I'm doubting myself or reconnecting with my purpose? I go back to my why. Okay, it's to help women feel healthy, to feel balanced, feel hopeful. That keeps me grounded. And then I'll think back about clients I've worked with, how they've seen all these transformations. I'm like, okay, that gives me a lot of confidence. And then I give myself like space to reset, to be quiet. I might go for a walk, I might journal, I might just take some time off just to do some things around the house to get my mind off things. And then I just go back and I'm like, okay, now I have some clarity, refocus, reset.
Again, super simple and also being very specific in what you're able to do, which is a choice. You know, truly that choice of focusing in on your purpose. So good. And
Yeah.
then we get to focus more in on ourselves because we have your help. I love it. So, what daily habits or practices have been key to your personal growth and achieving your goals?
For me, I start every morning reading the Bible. So I read the Bible. I want to listen to what God's saying. I want to listen to his voice. I find a lot of strength in that. So I'll pray and meditate. And then that's what gives me gosh, the calmness, the clarity to step into what's next, right? What are my goals? What's the most important thing to do today? Um, just that quiet time that I call it my quiet time with God every morning.
Do you do a journal, a study, devotional, certain book of the Bible that, or, is there anything specific that you focus in on?
It just depends. Like sometimes I'll read a specific chapter of the Bible or, read through different chapters. Other times I might be going through a devotional. I just finished reading a book and I'm reading it again the second time. Like I read it through once and then I'm reading again. And I literally read it probably 18 years ago and I went back to it again. And that had a lot of really good principles and weaving different Bible verses in. So yeah, it just depends. I mean, it's kind of an adventure. I'll just ask God, what do you want to do today? How do you want to spend our time together?
Oh, what's the book?
Oh, it's The Battlefield of the Mind by Joyce Meyer.
Oh, I love Joyce. Actually, it's wild. A girlfriend sent me one of her little videos, and it was wild because it popped up and I didn't see the picture. And I think I must have looked away and I knew her voice. Like her
Oh,
voice is so specific. The
that's very
battlefield of the mind.
The
Um,
Battlefield of the Mind. Yeah, and it's on Audible as well. But I felt like, you know what? I read it in 2007. I was like, you know what? Let me go back through and read this and go back through these verses and get grounded in it. And I was like, yeah, this is a really good, it's her bestseller. I'm like, no wonder it's such a good book. Useful in many ways.
and I think that's such a great lesson to realize something that she had written then is so prominent now, and maybe even more importantly now to recognize because of all the different distractions and things that we have, that
Right.
it's the constant same of, trying for our focus and our time and where we spend it, how we spend it.
Yes. Yes,
So good.
exactly.
So good.
Exactly.
So if you could give one piece of advice to a woman stepping into her power and striving her
Mhm.
best selves, what would it be?
I would say listening to your intuition, like everyone has intuition. It might be a different level of intuition at different times in your life, but your body's always talking. So my body was certainly talking all those years when I was stuffing my emotions and I got so sick I couldn't function basically. But just listening to your body, listening to your intuition, observing things, giving that still small voice power, right? Listening to it. I think every woman should do that. And I feel like a lot of times we have to be very rational and make quick decisions, but we're very intuitive people.
We are, and giving ourselves that chance
Mhm.
to acknowledge it. And I love the question of just knowing our body. That awareness is so key, so powerful. So, last question.
Yes.
How do you balance ambition, rest, ensuring that you stay aligned with your values and avoid a burnout?
That's a good question because there have been times when I've burned out just because I was overextended and doing so much and caretaking for either my parents or and just overextended. So I really figured out that I can only be effective if I'm taking care of myself, right? So I try to balance my workload with trying to rest, checking in with my body, checking on my values, like what's important today. Okay, that can wait till next week. If I'm pushing myself too hard or feeling depleted, I'll just be like, okay, slow down. You don't want to push yourself too hard or get sick or get in a rut where you feel really depleted. So that's where I'll, maybe spend more time with in my quiet time. I love walking. I recently started taking up gardening. Um, so I just giving myself some space, like, okay, change the deadline for that. All right, this is what I need to do. This can wait, that sort of thing. So just giving myself permission really to rest and listening to my body again, right? I feel like I kind of learned the hard way after being sick for so long because I just pushed too hard. Like, nope, I gotta listen.
Well, and when you know better, you do better,
That's
you
right.
know, like that's the
That is
greatest
right.
blessing. Yep.
Yeah.
And you have that almost like that, almost that alert where you're like, do, 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 do,
Right.
stop. Hold
Right.
on, I
Stop.
feel it, I know it, I understand it. Don't ignore it because then you'll be like face
Right.
down for longer than the choice of a
Right.
rest or
Yes.
not able to walk or not able to stretch or,
Mhm.
do the things that you know that really feed, refresh, and reset yourself. So, so beautiful. So is there anything that's crossed your heart with our time together that you think we might have missed or that you want to share with women today who find your message, who find you and know that they're not going crazy, that this is a spot in life that symbolizes so much more than we ever imagined? Is there anything that's crossed your heart that you wanted to share?
That's such a good question. I mean, just listening to your body and the clues and giving yourself the support you need, right? Like it could be different for some people. Maybe they go get a massage or they need to change what they're eating for a period of time just to give them more energy or look for health supportive techniques that are going to help them. Um, I just, yeah, I think women need to listen to our bodies and listen to our intuition. I mean, that's my main message. And knowing that there are lots of options for people. I often tell my clients, like, usually people get results. They just have to try a couple different things. They might go down several different paths, but oftentimes they get a good result when they just keep going. Like, I could have given up on the Epstein bar and still been very sick today, right? But I didn't. I was like, no, I'm just going to keep trying things. I'm not going to give up. I'm going to keep going. So I always like to encourage women, listen to your intuition and just don't give up. Just keep trying things. Like eventually something will happen. You'll get good results.
Well, and I think that after I'm looking over my notes here, is that from from what you shared in the very beginning was, being willing to keep asking that question of like, okay, what is there, what's possible, what's available, because you know that it's a choice to keep looking for solutions and you find them, and then there's responsibility and a choice for editing what, when, and how, and that purpose of knowing that there's greater out there, there's greater health, there's greater everything. And for someone like you that's done all the research for us, that you can literally like, like that's the gift and
Yes.
how we lean into someone else's, we stand on your shoulders because we can see further because you've already allowed that work to be done. So beautiful. I'm so thankful to know
Thank you.
you. Oh,
It's
and I
so nice to meet you. I love what you're doing for women and encouraging them and helping them step into their power and their dreams. Like it's very encouraging. I'm so glad we've connected, and I'm always happy to talk to people and see if homeopathy is a good fit for them. I think everyone should have their own homeopathic remedy because it's just such a beautiful reset in so many ways. So I'm always willing to talk. I have a special offer for your listeners if they want to have a discovery session. There's on my contact page at my website, Resplendent Healing, there's a discovery session. And if you put in the code FRIEND, discovery session is $57. I'm happy to talk about your health goals, see if homeopathy is a good fit, if it would be something that would work for you, that sort of thing. I just want to be a good resource and encourage people to get what they want and so that they feel well, right? They feel great and then they can pursue their lives, more energy to do the things you love. That is really, really important, right? Because if you don't feel well, you just don't have the motivation to achieve your dreams. So that's another
well,
things I love.
and I love that you shared so specifically that at that point in our lives, it can make us feel like this other route, almost like not ourselves. And it's
Right.
because we're out of balance. And it's such a great awareness to realize we're not alone. There's options, there's resources. You're a beautiful tool to be able to guide because you've done this. And what's even more spectacular to me is to know that you've done this from a place of not being in it. It wasn't like you decided this after or during menopause. You saw it, to understand that's going to be important. Just like a doctor that doesn't have babies, you know what I mean? That might
Uh-huh.
deliver babies. It's a joy, and because there's so much that comes from it.
Right.
And that's what you got to see is finding a solution to a very, very challenging space that some women just don't realize. I mean, like right now, I'm thinking of all these women that I can share this with because of what I've learned to know there's options out there. Yet it's not necessarily been a discussion and it's definitely not my space of expertise, you know? So now I can give them you, and I'm like,
Oh.
so amazing. So grateful. So grateful.
Great. Well, thank you. Thank you for having me today. This was so much fun.
Thank you. Thank you.